Okay, let's see. How do I open this up? Okay, you know what? Screw it. This is much easier. Here. See, this is how you know I'm not much of a drinker. So, I just got back from seeing the CG remake of The Lion King. And yes, it is CG remake. It's not live action. It's no. So I may as well start off with the things that I do like, because let's admit it, that's a much shorter list. From a technical point of view, this movie is actually quite impressive to look at. The lines look good, the animals, the background, the lighting, all of this looks very impressive. You have to give Disney credit for making this look as realistic as they could. Now, at the same time, I'm not too surprised given how well the lions look, because hey, look at the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Aslan looked great, so it wasn't any real surprise that they can make lions look that way, look that realistic. I've always known that they had it in them. Number two would be the music. I've always been a huge fan of Hans Zimmer. I love the songs from the original movie, although Be Prepared was given the short end of the stick in this one. I was very, very disappointed how they practically cut that song out. I was disappointed with The Circle of Life as well, because all they took the exact same song how it sounded in the original. You know, they didn't do any kind of remake of that song at all. All they did was took the exact same song and got a different singer, different vocals. So, but everything else though was redone. You know, Can You Feel the Love Tonight and Happy to Be King. Those songs had, reorchestrated those songs, different vocals, but no, let's keep the Circle of Life the exact same thing, just throw in someone else to sing it. Third is the fighting choreography. Okay, Disney did their homework watching how lions or felines in general fight. That's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, was a climax where Simba and Scar are fighting, and holy moly, that looked very impressive. And at least that scene lasted a little longer in the CG remake. In the animated one, I mean, it was dramatic. They did slow motion, and it was still very, very impressive. I'm not saying that the CG remake's done it better, but I was quite impressed on how it looked and how accurate they got the movements of how cats fight, how they really fit into each other. So yeah, that's all I liked. Yeah. Okay, so you thought Beauty and the Beast was bad, had no soul, no spirit, no charisma? This one, oh my goodness, The Lion King 2019 is one of the coldest, no emotion at all in this movie. It was, holy moly. So, okay, here's the thing. From the very beginning, the film is almost frame by frame identical to the movie. When the Circle of Life sequence played, there was almost no difference. It was just CG. That was it. And it was even sped up in this odd way, if that makes sense. I mean, right away, the sun was just... and it was moving like a mile a minute. At least in the original movie, it was rising but very slowly. It added atmosphere. I didn't get that at all in the opening sequence of the CG remake. It looked nice, but again, there just was no soul, no spirit, no emotion, no charisma at all. So no, I knew this was off to a very bad start. Like The Circle of Life, the rest of the movie is 99% the same as the animated one, shot by shot. Very little difference. The differences in dialogue and scenery and the acting, yes, they do exist, although it was very, very minimal. The pacing, this movie runs faster. It reminds me a lot like how Beauty and the Beast did. Now, Beauty and the Beast, as awful as that movie was, I mean, they did have a bunch of changes. Some of it, actually a lot of it didn't make any sense whatsoever. I kind of got what they were going for, but the pacing was going a bajillion miles per second. The same thing happened with the CG Lion King, but oh my god, but it suffers so much. The characters suffer. Here's a very good example. We all know the touching scene where Mufasa is explaining his lesson to Simba after he saves him from the hyenas. And we have that moment where Simba, we're pals, right? And we'll always be together, right? In the animated one, Mufasa actually hesitates. He turns serious, but very thoughtful, and then, in a subtle way explains to Simba that no, and unfortunately I can't be around forever. In order for you to be king, I have to pass on, but still he gives these words of comfort that the kings of the past are in the sky and they'll always look after you. But in the CG remake, that's almost non-existent. As soon as Simba says, oh, we'll always be together, right? Split second, Mufasa stands up without any emotion. Oh, let me tell you something. The kings of the past, they're in the sky. They'll look after you. I didn't care. There was no chemistry, no emotion between Mufasa and Simba. And to me, that's one of the heart and souls of the original Lion King, is the father and son bond. That's so important because when Mufasa does die, Simba is devastated, and he actually legitimately believes that he's the reason. And Uncle Scar comes in like, oh my god, Simba, what have you done? Simba really believes him, and he carries that with him throughout the whole movie, but you don't get that in this one. In the death of Mufasa, yes, Simba is sad, but you don't believe it. You can't see it in Simba's face. That's the advantage that the 2D animated version had over the CG one. They're bright, they're vibrant, they have expressions. You can see what the characters are feeling, and it has a much larger impact. But in the CG version, I know that you're trying to make the animals look as realistic as possible. They can't have the big bright eyes and with the eyebrows moving. But listen, has any of you watched any nature films of lions in actual peril, or they were, trying to vacuum cleaner and look at your cat's face? They can look scared. They can look terrified. They can look disappointed and sad. Like, I don't know about you, but I've seen that in a cat's face and a lion's face in other documentaries. Like, they have more emotion, or can portray more emotion than what you realize. The stampede scene was fairly impressive, although again, I like the 2D version more. It just made the scene look more grand, more spectacular. And you believed that Simba was in peril. When he climbed up that tree, he was holding on for dear life. You were on the edge of your seat like, oh my goodness, Simba, don't fall, hold on. That did not exist. Simba does climb a tree to get out of the way of the wildebeest, but he's just standing there on top of the tree, just looking around. Like, really? It's like, what? So Mufasa is dead. Simba is grieving, although very brief. You can tell it's a sad moment, but due to the lack of the chemistry between father and son, I didn't really feel all that much whatsoever. Scar comes along, tells him, oh, what have you done? Run away and never return. And this was such an important scene in the original one, because Simba's running, the hyenas are after him. There's a lot of peril there, so Simba almost has no time to mourn. He's running for dear life, but the chase scene in the CG remake was extremely short. Simba falls over a cliff and finds safety on a ledge, and the hyena's like, screw that, I'm not going after him. I did enjoy the hyenas in this film because Disney did their research on them. They made them a little more realistic. Senji in this version, she's bigger, she's in charge, which is the way hyenas are in real life. The females really are in charge in hyena packs. And they didn't just have 3 of them in this movie. They had them everywhere. And it really did make Scar look more powerful, because he wasn't just talking to these 3 particular hyenas all the time. He was talking to them as a group. So I do have more respect in that direction that Disney was going. Timon and Pumbaa, I'm not gonna lie, I was never real big fans of them anyway in the original one. But they are 10 times worse in the CG remake. Now, nothing against the actors. I mean, they actually did a pretty good job with the voice acting. The humor, I didn't really find anything funny about them. One of the most awkward moments, I think, is when Nala and Simba reunite. So again, most of this is the same thing. Nala tries to kill Pumbaa. Simba intervenes with a fight scene that's actually quite good, but extremely short, so that the impact wasn't exactly there. The problem is in this version, yes, Simba gets pinned down. It says Nala, and right off the bat, Nala knows it's Simba. Oh, okay, yes, we have this strange line that calls your name, but naturally you're going to be confused. Hey, how do know me? And we do get this in the original. She doesn't say, hey Simba, it's you. No, she backs away and she's looking at him and, hey, who are you? How do you know me? But no, in this version, as soon as it says, Nala, is that you? She knows it's Simba. And Can You Feel the Love Tonight? I swear to God, it happens like less than a minute after they meet each other. So yeah, they fall in love much quicker in the CG version. I know it's quite quick in the animated version, but the pacing gave them time to just, okay, get their wits about them. What's happening? Who are you? Okay, like they're talking. At least they're talking. So we go into Can You Feel the Love Tonight, which didn't really make sense. The entire time I was thinking, can you feel the love today? Because it happened during the day. You only get the tonight part close to the end of the song. I think it's close to sunset. But no, after that, the sun is clearly still up when they confront each other about Simba's lack of responsibility, his new philosophy. I didn't really get how they went out of the way to make a huge difference as to how Rafiki learns that Simba is still alive. I mean, the movie's been shot by shot the same as the animated one at this point, so I was kind of surprised, okay, they're going to try and be creative as to how Rafiki finds out. But long story short, rather than the dander, the plants, the dust running, flying through the air, and Rafiki just grabs it and smells it, his fur, the fur from his mane goes through this very, very long journey. It's kind of like a homage to nature documentaries. That's what it reminded me. But at the end, a giraffe ends up, a bird takes it, then a giraffe eats it, the giraffe poops it out, a dung beetle is rolling the poop around, an ant takes the hair, goes up a tree, Rafiki, oh, there's an ant with some fur, I better pick that up. Not knowing where it's been, and he doesn't smell, he just looks at it like, wow, some random fur. It must be Simba. Like really? Like there are no lions anywhere that has a fur? You decided immediately, like, yeah, this is the only bit of fur I've seen in a while, so it must be Simba. That's the most logical conclusion. Simba's still alive, so I'm gonna go out and find him. Rafiki finding Simba isn't that bad, but I was so massively disappointed about how they concluded that Simba should go back. In the animated one, it was a very clever demonstration. We all know he hits him over the head, and Simba, oh gee, that hurts. And Rafiki agrees, yes, but that's in the past. He doesn't really give him any lesson of, oh, what's in the past, you should confront. I mean, okay, yes, he does do that in the CG version, but it didn't seem as impactful to me. And it just goes by so quickly. I did like how Mufasa returns to speak to his son. They don't immediately make the clouds the shape of a lion and speak to him. The clouds, you can tell they're clouds, but when the lightning clouds behind it, you can see the eyes and the nose, so you can tell that it looks like a lion, and it looks more natural. So I will give Disney some points for being creative in that aspect, but it just flies by so quick, and I'm pretty sure they just took the recording of Remember Who You Are and they just took it from the original film and they just put it over the new one. I don't think I really don't think a new reading of that line was ever taken for the CG version. They just went through the archive, took it from the old one and just stuck it in here. At least that's what it sounded like to me. So Simba realizes he needs to go home, take responsibility. He goes home, they confront the hyenas, they fight in a fight scene that I really, really enjoyed. Very epic, the music really plays into it. And Scar dies, and hooray, I'm the king. I'm back to my rightful place in the circle of life. So overall, no, I did not like the CG remake at all. It was lifeless. There's no charisma. There's no soul. The pacing was very fast, very awkward. The changes they did make was very minimal. They didn't really make any sense. And it just wasn't believable. Now, should you see this movie? That depends. If you really are one of those people that want to see a shot-from-shot remake of the original, just made completely CGI, okay, I think you will like this. I mean, the audience around me seemed to enjoy it. They didn't laugh as much as I experienced when I seen the original one, but they seemed to have a pretty good time. So I think the director really aimed this movie at that kind of audience who didn't want to see too much change from the original. Just make it hyper realized, and hopefully the message just sticks like it did in the original. But no, the message did not stick, at least it didn't to me, because there was such a huge disconnect from me and those characters. It just didn't matter that much to me, especially how the pacing was simply sped up. There was nothing new to be offered. And this movie had so much potential. Just take the Broadway musical, for example. They didn't just reimagine the look of The Lion King for the stage. They took the story and added so much to it. So personally, I think they should have taken a lot of the elements of the Broadway musical and added to the CG remake. That would have been interesting. That is something I would have been so excited to see. So instead, the director decided to play it safe. He didn't want to rock the boat. He just took the product that already existed, made it into CG, and just, okay, boom, where's my paycheck? I can't overly blame them for doing that, because given the remakes we've been seeing recently with Disney, they've all been hit or miss. There hasn't been a lot of in between, like, okay, it's, this is fine, but maybe we had more of this or less of that. They all been either very, very good or awful. So far, my favorite has been The Jungle Book. I've done a review on that movie. Aladdin was okay. The Will Smith as the genie did save that movie for me. Far from perfect, but at least it was better than Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast was atrocious, and I'm going to put the Lion King CGI remake in the same boat. I did not like it at all. Some people will enjoy it. If you're one of the people who prefers a safe film that you're familiar with, you'll find this fine. But if you're looking for anything new, something that has something to offer you, has a heart and charisma, you're not gonna find that here. I'm sorry. I wanted to like this movie. I did not have high hopes when it went in, but I've seen movies where I had that attitude before. It's like, oh well, this is gonna suck, and I came out surprised, but no, not with this one. So, The Lion King CGI remake of 2019, you can see it. I mean, go for it if that's your thing. You just want to see hyper realistic CGI animals that have no expressions, no emotions, like no heart in them. Yeah, I mean, cool from a technical standpoint, but not for me. So anyway, this is Chippy Neko saying, watch at your own risk. Okay? Just, yeah, bye-bye. This is Chippy Neko signing out.